All right, Rand, down to the last two here. Look, man, Arch Manning is going to be the first player taken should he decide to come out. And I keep saying, prefacing any conversation about Arch by saying, in all likelihood, it feels like he will return based on what his uncles did when they were in college and the fact that he doesn't need to come out and support a family and that he's only going to be a year one starter this season at Texas. Only started two games last year. You see in the graphic there, he was 2-0 in those two starts. And a lot of fun to watch. Made some mistakes, as all young players do, but he got better with the more reps he got. So I had Arch Manning too, just because I want to see more. And that's the only reason why. But if you're telling me I have a top two pick and Arch Manning's there, I'm taking him. Any reservation whatsoever, because we talked about it just a moment ago with Anthony Richardson, for example. If you haven't played a lot of football, any reservation taking Arch Manning if you had the first overall pick as you sit here on July 1st, 2025? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, it's got to be reservation, and I think
Okay.
Art would probably say the same, and feel the same way about the hype that he's getting out for just two college starts. And so, of course, you want to see more, but I think this guy I think he has everything. I think he has everything you're looking for, and he's just coming into it with the expectation. You mentioned it with some of your rankings last year, who your QB1 was versus who ended up actually being QB1. He's going to have the stage. He's in a great offense to allow him to show that he can play the quarterback position. I mean, I'll say it this way, if he can play like he did versus Mississippi State, then he's going to be QB1. I don't think it's going to be close. That's just my opinion. But, he's going to have to go out there and do it. And I think he will. I think he has good size. I think he's a natural passer of the football, as you can expect him to be. He has good arm strength. He has accuracy. He has the touch. I think he has a calming presence, in the pocket. You watch him, he throws from a good platform and base. And he just plays with a calm demeanor, which you like to see. If I'm nitpicking, he has a couple of things that I'd like to see him do better. I'd like to see him climb the pocket a little bit more. He has a tendency sometimes to sit really deep in the pocket, which puts pressure on the tackles in their pass sets. So his drops and the pass sets of the tackles don't always mirror and match, which puts pressure on those guys' edges. But I think he puts good air under the ball, does a nice job of getting the ball out front of his pass catchers, which we talked about yesterday, with a couple guys, just putting the ball in a place where his receivers can catch it, run, and go do their thing. And different from his uncles, like, this guy's a real athlete. Like, he can run the ball, and he could be a threat with the ball in his hands, and so you can do some cool things with him. And so it's going to be fun to watch Steve Sarkisian and his offense and how they adapt, to having a guy that can run and also throw.
I'm laughing because you play with Peyton Manning in Indianapolis, and when we talked to John Lynch in Carthon's Corner early this summer, he talked about how he talked to Peyton before he hired you in San Francisco. John did, and he had all the respect in the world for you. And you come out there, Peyton catching strays. He's just trying to take care of his own business, and you talking about he can't run. He's not the fleetest of foot. To your point about Arch, however, he's a 100-meter guy. He ran 100. Look, I know that you and Sharon are track guys, but he ran 100 meters at 6'4" in just over 12 seconds. That was 84th percentile among all high school kids. So he's not going to break the world record. He ain't Carl Lewis. But we saw in that Louisiana Monroe game, Sherrod's in my ear, talking smack about old Arch. That Louisiana Monroe game, he strided out on a scramble that went for what felt like 40, 50 yards off the top of my head. So, again, not Carl Lewis, but he does have some athleticism. He was a high jump guy in high school as well. The other thing, and this was one of the mistakes I made with Drake May, who I thought his final season at UNC was a little up and down, and I had some reservations about how that would translate that offense at UNC to the immediacy of starting in New England, and he exceeded everyone's expectations. But he came from a family that had plenty of winners at the Division I level, brothers, mom, dad, and there's something to be said for having the pedigree that Arch has, correct? Because they are probably no better uncles to have on planet Earth and grandfather to have on planet Earth than those Mannings surrounding him about how to handle every single situation he's going to confront. You think that makes sense?
Absolutely, and let's not shortchange Cooper, his dad. Cooper was a Division I athlete, receiver at Ole Miss before injury ended his career. So again, it's pedigree. It's pedigree, and he comes from it. Like you said, you have your grandfather who was the second overall pick. You have two uncles that were first overall pick. Like, it's in your blood. And it's not just that you have these people in your family, but it's the type of people that you have. Like there was no more prepared guy than Peyton Manning for a football game, on a week to week basis. And the work that he put in, even in the offseason, getting to know defenses, getting to know schemes and all those different things. Like this is what he's been raised around and he knows. And I saw an interview here recently where you have that, you have the bloodline, if you will, but then now you're studying Joe Burrow, you're studying Josh Allen, you're studying these teams, and you're not just leaning on, who your family is and the things that you've, just inherently gotten from them. So the arrow is strongly pointing up for the kid. Again, only 2 college starts. He's going to have to go out and prove it. And the world is going to be watching. The whole world is going to watch, and they're going to want to know. And there's going to be a fraction of people that are rooting for this kid's downfall, which makes me want to root for him more, but he's going to have an opportunity to go out and do it. And again, we just talked about it in the previous segment with Drew Aller and playing in a conservative, if you will, scheme at Penn State. Steve Sarkisian, who has been one of the best coordinators in college football, has been a coordinator in the NFL. He's going to have this guy in a pro-style system. So Arch has the opportunity to answer every single question this year at Texas.
Absolutely. A couple things. I think one of the misconceptions, and I want you to confirm or deny this one, is that Peyton and Eli are just a bunch of aw shucks, Andy Griffith types. They have some stuff in their necks. And I've heard the same thing about people who have seen Arch up close and personal in the heat of the moment playing football. He's not just getting up with a big smile on his face. He's trying to take guys out within the confines of the football game. And the other thing I want to say, my comp for Arch, and you can tell me if it's thumbs up, thumbs down. It was tough, but I went with Andrew Luck.
No, I can definitely see that. And I mean that even if you take it a step further and talk about the bloodline, Andrew Luck came from Oliver Luck, who was a National Football League starting quarterback and just knew how to play the quarterback, what it means to play the quarterback position. But talking about, and I didn't play with Eli, and even though we were in the same draft class, I don't think I've ever even met Eli. But being with Peyton on a consistent basis for 3 years, like Peyton's an assassin, and that's how he approaches everything. So he is very, very far from all shucks, Aunt B, he's not that guy. And if I'm gonna say it, I think Arch has a little more flavor than both of his uncles. I think he gets it. He's probably where both of those. Well, I'm not even gonna speak on Eli, where Peyton was more driven on the task and the ultimate goal. I think Arch kind of gets it. He's a more new age kid, and I think he's a little more relatable to his teammates at this stage.
Yeah, you're saying Arch is invited to the cookout. I think that's what I'm understanding.